Dae-ho Kim stared at the warning lights flashing red across his ship's control panel. The air felt thick and stale in his lungs. His life support system had failed 3 hours ago, and now his small cargo ship drifted helplessly near Nexus Station. The massive space station hung in front of him like a giant metal city, its lights twinkling against the black of space. He pressed the communication button with sweaty fingers. "This is human trader Dae-ho Kim requesting emergency docking." "My life support is down?" The voice that answered sounded tired and annoyed. "Nexus Control here. All emergency bays are full. You'll have to wait 6 hours for the next available spot." 6 hours. Dae-ho looked at his oxygen readings. He had maybe 2 hours left, 3 if he barely moved. His hands shook as he switched to the general trading frequency, hoping someone might help. "Any ship near Nexus Station. This is Dae-ho Kim, human trader with life support failure. We'll pay for emergency repairs and docking." Silence filled the radio waves, then a few laughs from other traders. "Humans," someone said with a snort, "always getting into trouble." Dae-ho closed his eyes. He was thousands of light years from Earth, carrying a small cargo of human goods he hoped to trade. This was supposed to be his big chance to help establish trade between humanity and the galaxy. Now he might die before he even got started. "Human ship, this is Captain Veltar of the cargo vessel Blue Current. I can help you." Dae-ho's eyes snapped open. The voice belonged to an Ultarion, one of the tall, blue-skinned aliens he had studied before coming here. "Captain Veltar, I can pay standard emergency rates for docking and repairs." "No payment needed," Veltar replied. "Follow my ship to Bay 7. I have repair equipment." Dae-ho could hardly believe it. "Are you sure? I don't want to cause trouble." "No." "Trouble? Everyone needs help sometimes." 20 minutes later, Dae-ho's ship sat safely in Captain Veltar's rented bay. The Altrian captain was even taller than Dae-ho had expected, with kind golden eyes and skin that shimmered blue under the station lights. His crew worked quickly to fix the life support system. "Why are you helping me?" Dae-ho asked as they watched the repairs. "You don't even know me." Veltar's crew members exchanged looks. One of them, a younger Altrian named Coulson, shook his head. "Captain, we barely have enough credits to pay for our own docking fees." "Why waste time on the newcomer species?" Veltar looked at his crew member with disappointment. "Because it's the right thing to do. Would you want someone to leave you floating in space?" Coulson muttered something under his breath about humans being weak and unprofitable to help. "But—" He kept working on the repairs. From across the bay, Hannah Park watched the scene unfold. She was a human diplomatic attach, one of only 12 humans currently stationed at Nexus. Her job was to observe and learn about alien cultures, to help humanity fit into galactic society. She had been walking through the docking bays when she heard the emergency call. Now she stood behind a stack of cargo containers, taking notes on her small computer pad. This Captain Veltar was interesting. Most traders at Nexus Station thought only about profit. But here was an alien helping a human for no payment at all. The repairs took 3 hours. When they finished, Dae-ho's ship hummed with clean, fresh air. He tried again to pay Veltar, pulling out a small bag of Earth diamonds. "Please, Captain, take something for your trouble." Veltar waved his hand. "Keep your diamonds. Use them to start your trading business. The galaxy needs honest traders." "But your crew said you're short on credits," Dae-ho insisted. "We'll manage, we always do." Veltar smiled, showing sharp white teeth. "Good luck with your trading, human. May the stars light your path." After Dae-ho left, Veltar's crew grumbled more loudly. 3 hours of work for nothing," Coulson complained. "And we used our own repair materials. The humans will never remember this kindness anyway." "Maybe not," Veltar said quietly, "but I will sleep better tonight knowing I helped someone." Hannah approached them after Dae-ho's ship departed. She introduced herself as a human diplomat and thanked Veltar for his kindness. "It was nothing special," Veltar said, but Hannah could see he was pleased by her thanks. "It was special to us," Hannah replied. She pulled out her computer pad and typed some notes. Captain, may I ask your full name and ship registry? I like to keep records of people who help humans. Veltar looked puzzled. Why would you record such a thing? It's a human custom, Hana explained. We remember kindness. We believe good. Deeds should not be forgotten, Coulson laughed harshly. What will you do with this record? Send him a thank you card? Hana smiled mysteriously. Something like that. Later that evening, Hana sat in her small quarters aboard the station. She uploaded her notes to a secure human database. Captain Veltar's name joined thousands of others in what humans quietly called the favor file. Every act of kindness shown to a human, no matter how small, was recorded with careful detail. Their diplomatic attaches across the galaxy did the same thing. When a Zephyrian gave a human directions, it was noted. When a crystalline shared their lunch with a hungry human worker, it was recorded. When any alien helped any human, somewhere, somehow, it was remembered. Most aliens found this habit strange when they learned about it. They thought humans were either overly sentimental or planning some kind of complicated business deal. Neither guess was quite right. Humans simply believed that kindness mattered. They believed that people who chose to help others, especially strangers, were worth remembering. And they believed that good deeds should never go unrewarded, even if the reward came much later. The next morning, Captain Veltar received an unexpected message. A human trading company wanted to hire his ship for a long-term cargo run. The pay was excellent, much better than his usual jobs. When he asked why they chose him, the human representative simply said they had heard good things about his character. Veltar accepted the job, puzzled but grateful. His crew was happy too, especially Coulson, who quickly forgot his complaints about helping humans. None of them connected the job offer to the previous day's kindness. It seemed like pure luck, but in her quarters Hannah Park smiled as she read the confirmation message. The first small thread in humanity's web of gratitude had been woven. Captain Veltar had shown kindness to a human stranger, and now that kindness was being returned. It was just the beginning. 6 months had passed since Captain Veltar helped a human trader. His new cargo contracts kept coming, each one more profitable than the last. His crew was happy, his ship was well maintained, and his bank account was growing. Veltar sometimes wondered about his good fortune, but he was too busy working to think about it much. On the other side of the galaxy, Jinwoo Lee was having the worst day of his terraforming career. The storm on Kepler 442b had come from nowhere, turning the sky black and filling the air with stinging sand. His shelter tent had blown away, and his emergency beacon wasn't working. Jinwoo stumbled through the howling wind, looking for any kind of protection. His oxygen suit would keep him alive for maybe 6 more hours. After that, he would become another casualty of hostile world terraforming. Through the swirling sand, he saw a light. He pushed toward it and found a small Zephyrian settlement. The Zephyrians were tall, thin aliens with silver skin that seemed to glow in the dark. They lived in dome-shaped buildings that could survive the planet's fierce storms. An elderly Zephyrian named Kethrin opened the settlement's main door. His large black eyes studied Jinwoo with concern. "Human, you are far from your terraforming base. Come inside before the storm kills you." "Thank you," Jinwoo gasped as he stumbled into the warm, safe building. "I'll call my team as soon as the storm passes." "That will be 3 days," Kethrin said. "This storm is a big one. You will stay with us until it ends." For 3 days, the Zephyrian settlement shared their food, water, and shelter with Jinwoo. They asked for nothing in return. When other Zephyrians complained about wasting resources on an outsider, Kethrin simply said, "We help those who need help. That is our way." When the storm finally ended, Jinwoo's rescue team found him safe and healthy. He thanked the Zephyrians over and over, but they waved away his gratitude as if it meant nothing. "We did what anyone would do," Kethrin said, but Jinwoo knew better. Not everyone would risk their own supplies to save a stranger. That night he sent a detailed report to the Human Terraforming Office, making sure to mention every Zephyrian who had helped him. Meanwhile, on the research station orbiting Proxima Centauri, Dr. Nara Song was making a terrible mistake. She reached for what looked like a beautiful purple flower growing in the station's alien botanical garden. A crystalline hand grabbed her wrist just in time. "Do not touch," said the crystalline researcher. Her body was made of living crystal that sparkled with inner light. "That flower releases poison gas when disturbed. It would kill you in seconds." Nara pulled her hand back quickly. "Thank you. I had no idea." "Humans often do not know which plants are dangerous," the crystalline said. Her name was Solara, and she had been studying alien plants for decades. "I have seen 3 species go extinct because they touched the wrong plant." Solara spent the rest of the day teaching Nara about dangerous alien plants. She showed her flowers that could melt human skin, vines that could strangle a person in minutes, and fruits that looked delicious but were deadly poison. "Why are you teaching me this?" Nara asked. "This must be valuable knowledge." "Knowledge should be shared," Solara replied, "especially knowledge that saves lives." That evening, Nara sent a message to the Human Research Council. She described everything Solara had taught her and requested that the crystalline researcher be given full access to human botanical databases in return. All across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. A hegemony officer named Commander Yultex warned a human cargo ship about pirates hiding in the Vega asteroid field. A draconian mechanic fixed a human explorer's damaged suit for free. An aquatic trader shared fresh water with thirsty human colonists on a desert world. Each time, the humans carefully recorded the details. Names, dates, exactly what help was given. The information flowed back to human diplomatic posts throughout the galaxy, where it was entered into growing databases. Most aliens thought this record-keeping was odd. "Why do humans write down every small favor?" they asked each other. "Do they plan to send bills later?" But the humans weren't planning to send bills. They were planning something much more interesting. Captain Veltar was the first to notice the pattern, though he didn't understand it at the time. His profitable cargo runs all seemed to come from human companies or companies that worked closely with humans. When he mentioned this to other Altrian traders, they just shrugged. "Humans like reliable captains," they said. "You must have impressed them somehow." On Kepler 442b, the Zephyrian settlement began receiving mysterious gifts. Advanced water purification systems arrived with notes saying they were donated by grateful terraformers. New farming equipment appeared with tags reading "For the helpers of Jinwu Li." Kethran was puzzled but grateful. His settlement had been struggling with water shortages and old equipment. These gifts would help his people survive much better. "Who is this Jinwu Li?" the younger Zephyrians asked. "The human we helped during the storm," Kethran replied. "But how could he afford such expensive gifts?" He was just one engineer. What Kethran didn't know was that Jinwu hadn't bought the gifts himself. The Human Terraforming Council had read Jinwu's report and decided to help the Zephyrians. They sent the best equipment they could spare, along with technical support to help install it. "These Zephyrians saved one of our people," the council leader had said. "That makes them friends of humanity." Solara, the crystalline researcher, received even bigger surprises. Her research project, which had been struggling for funding, suddenly received a massive grant from the Human Science Foundation. The grant was enough to fund her work for the next 10 years. "Why are humans giving me so much money?" she asked the human research coordinator. "Dr. Nara Song recommended you very highly," the coordinator replied. "She said you saved her life and shared valuable knowledge. Humans invest in people who help humans." Commander Yultex, the hegemony officer who warned about pirates, found his career taking an unexpected turn. His superiors started giving him better assignments and more responsibility. When he asked why, they said they had received glowing reports about his excellent judgment and helpfulness to galactic traders. What they didn't mention was that several human shipping companies had quietly let hegemony officials know that Commander Yultex was someone they trusted and respected. In the complicated politics of galactic trade, such recommendations carried a lot of weight. The draconian mechanic started getting more customers than he could handle. all of them humans or human allies. The aquatic trader found that human colonies always had the best prices for his goods and never tried to cheat him in negotiations. Slowly, a pattern was emerging. Aliens who helped humans found their lives getting better in small but important ways. Better jobs, better customers, better opportunities. Most of them didn't connect these improvements to their past kindness toward humans. They thought they were just getting lucky, but in the human diplomatic offices, careful plans were being made. Every alien who had helped a human was flagged as a friend of humanity. These friends received subtle assistance whenever possible. Business recommendations, research grants, introductions to profitable contacts, warnings about dangerous situations. Hannah Park, now promoted to senior cultural attaché, oversaw much of this work from her office on Nexus Station. Her computer screens showed hundreds of ongoing gratitude operations across the galaxy. "Ma'am," her assistant asked, "don't you think some aliens might figure out what we're doing?" Hannah smiled. "Let them figure it out. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just remembering who our friends are and trying to help them succeed." "But what's the point? Why spend so much effort on small favors?" "Because small favors create big friendships," Hannah replied. "And friendships are worth more than gold, especially when you're a young species trying to make your way in a dangerous galaxy." She was right about the danger. Reports were coming in about increased hegemony military activity near human space. The militaristic alliance was growing suspicious of human expansion and influence. Some hegemony leaders were calling humans a contaminating influence on galactic culture, but Hannah wasn't worried. Humanity had been busy for the past months, and not just with trade and exploration. They had been making friends, one small favor at a time, and soon those friendships would be put to the test. The first human colony to burn was New Sol on Tau Ceti Prime. The hegemony fleet appeared without warning, their massive warships blocking out the sun. Admiral Sujin Choi watched the attack from her command ship 3 systems away, her hands clenched into fists as the emergency broadcasts cut to static. 50,000 people, her communications officer reported quietly. The colony had 50,000 people. Sujin closed her eyes. New Sol had been one of humanity's first successful colonies, a farming world that fed 6 other human settlements. Now it was nothing but burning ruins and radioactive craters. "Admiral," her tactical officer called out, "we're receiving priority messages from Earth Command and the Confederation Council." Sujin opened the first message. "Earth's President Minho?" Yoon appeared on her screen, his face grave but determined. "All human military forces are to withdraw to defensive positions immediately. Do not engage hegemony forces unless directly attacked. We are requesting emergency sessions with the Confederation Council." The second message was from the Council itself. They were calling for an immediate ceasefire and peace negotiations. But Sujin knew what that really meant. The Council was going to abandon humanity to avoid a larger war. Across the galaxy, more human colonies came under attack. The hegemony had planned their assault carefully, hitting 12 worlds at once. Their message was clear: humans were no longer welcome. In this part of space. On Nexus Station, the Confederation Council met in emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the great circular chamber, their voices rising in heated debate. President Minho sat calmly in the human section, listening to species after species explain why they couldn't help humanity. "The hegemony is too powerful," said the Valerian ambassador, his feathers ruffled with anxiety. "If we support the humans, they will attack us next." "Humans are a young species," added the aquatic representative, her gills fluttering nervously. "They have not been part of our community long enough to deserve such sacrifice. Perhaps this conflict can be resolved through territorial concessions," suggested the Centaurian delegate. "Humans could relocate to less disputed areas of space." Minho listened to it all without speaking. When the formal debate ended, Council Chairman Mordak called for the human response. Min-Ho stood slowly. The chamber fell silent as he walked to the central speaking platform. His voice was quiet when he spoke, but somehow it carried to every corner of the vast room. Honored representatives. He began, I want to thank you all for your considered opinions on this matter. A few delegates shifted uncomfortably at his tone. You speak of the hegemony's power, and you are right, they are strong. You speak of humanity's youth in galactic affairs, and you are right about that too. We have only been part of this community for 30 years. Minho paused, looking around the chamber. But I think there is something important you have forgotten. Something that might change your calculations about this war. What could humans possibly offer that would change the strategic situation? Demanded the draconian ambassador. Minho smiled, and somehow that smile was scarier than any threat. We remember every kindness shown to us. We also remember every betrayal. He activated his personal communicator. Hannah, please begin the great reciprocation. In her office high above the council chamber, Hannah Park pressed a single button on her desk. Across the galaxy, thousands of messages began flowing through human diplomatic channels. Each message was addressed to an alien who had once helped a human. Each message contained the same basic information. Humanity was at war, and humanity was calling in its debts, but these weren't requests for military aid. They were something much more subtle and powerful. Captain Veltar was loading cargo on Ultrium Prime when he received his message. It came with detailed coordinates to a derelict ship floating in an unexplored nebula. The message explained that the ship contained a cargo hold full of rare crystals worth millions of credits. How do humans know about this ship? Veltar wondered. But when he investigated the coordinates, he found everything exactly as described. The derelict ship held enough wealth to make him one of the richest traders in his sector of space. The message also contained a simple request. If you feel grateful for this gift, please remember that humans helped your business prosper. We hope you will speak kindly of us to others. On Kepler 442b, Kethron's Zephyrian settlement received survey data showing vast underground water reserves directly beneath their territory. The information came with mining rights documents already filed with the planetary government, giving the Zephyrians legal claim to enough water to supply their people for 1,000 years. The accompanying message thanked Kethron for saving Jinwu Li and asked only that he remember humanity's friendship when others spoke against them. Solara, a crystalline researcher, discovered that her 10-year research grant had been expanded to include funding for an entire research station and a team of 50 scientists. The Human Science Foundation had also provided her with access to botanical samples from dozens of worlds, some of them incredibly rare and valuable. Her message was brief. Thank you for saving Dr. Nara Song's life. We hope our continued partnership will benefit both our species. Commander Yultex received the most surprising gift of all. Human intelligence services provided him with detailed information about a planned rebellion within the hegemony military. The information was accurate and valuable enough to make him a hero to his superiors and earn him promotion to Admiral. The message with this intelligence was simple. You once warned humans about danger. Now we warn you. Use this information wisely, and remember that humans value honor and honesty. All across the galaxy, the pattern repeated. Every alien who had ever helped a human suddenly found themselves blessed with extraordinary good fortune. Wealth, knowledge, power, protection, whatever they needed most, humans somehow provided it, but the gifts came with a price. Not payment, but memory. Each recipient was asked to remember humanity's generosity and to speak well of humans too. Others, the effects were immediate and dramatic. Within days, hundreds of species were receiving messages from their own people, traders, researchers, military officers, colonists, all talking about the amazing generosity and friendship of humans. Captain Veltar used his newfound wealth to buy a fleet of cargo ships. He hired crews from dozens of species, and to each one he told the story of how humans had made his prosperity possible. Soon, his entire trading network was filled with beings who thought positively about humanity. Catherine's story spread through Zephyrian society like wildfire. Here was proof that humans were true friends, aliens who remembered kindness and repaid it 100-fold. When Zephyrian leaders met to discuss the war, many voices spoke in favor of humanity. Admiral Yultex found himself in a particularly interesting position. His new rank put him in charge of hegemony forces in 3 star systems, including systems that bordered human space. When his superiors ordered attacks on human positions, he discovered that his fleet's supplies had mysterious problems. Ships developed engine troubles at crucial moments. Navigation systems malfunctioned. Communication arrays failed during important operations. None of his subordinates seemed to know why these problems kept happening, but Yultex suspected the truth. Many of his officers had traded with humans over the years. Some had been helped by human merchants or diplomats, and now, when the hegemony tried to attack humans, these same officers seemed strangely unable to carry out their orders effectively. In the Confederation Council, the debate continued, but now it had a different tone. Representatives who had seemed ready to abandon humanity were receiving urgent messages from their home governments. The Valerian Trade Guild reports that their most profitable partnerships are with human-allied companies. The Valerian ambassador read from his communicator, his voice puzzled. They strongly advise supporting humanity in this conflict. Our military intelligence division says they have received valuable strategic information from human sources, reported the Centaurian delegate. Information that helped us prevent 3 terrorist attacks last month. The aquatic merchant fleet wants to formally thank humans for providing them with safe harbor during the Rigel pirate crisis. The aquatic representative added, they believe humans are trustworthy allies. One by one, the species that had seemed ready to abandon humanity began changing their positions. Not because of fear or political pressure, but because their own people were telling them that humans were valuable friends worth protecting. President Minho watched this transformation with quiet satisfaction. When Chairman Mordock called for a new vote on military aid to humanity, the result was very different from what anyone had expected. The motion to provide military assistance to human colonies passes by a vote of 847 to 23, Mordock announced, his voice stunned. After the session, several ambassadors approached Minho with obvious confusion. How did you do this? The Draconian ambassador asked. How did you change so many minds so quickly? Minho's answer was simple. We didn't change any minds. We just reminded people of what they already knew. That kindness should be repaid. And friends should help friends. But the scale of it, pressed the Valerian ambassador. The coordination, the timing. How long have you been planning this? Director Kite Lim stood in the center of the most secret facility in human space. The Gratitude Archive stretched out around him like a vast underground city, its servers humming with the stored memories of 10 billion acts of kindness, holographic. Displays showed data flowing in real time from every human settlement, every diplomatic post, every place where humans and aliens had ever met. Show me the current status, Kite said to his assistant. Agent Burahan. Bura waved her hand and the displays changed to show a map of the galaxy. Green dots marked species and individuals who had helped humans. Red dots showed hegemony forces. The green dots outnumbered the red ones by more than 100 to 1. The great reciprocation is exceeding all projections, or reported. We've activated gratitude protocols for 847 different species across 2,340 star systems. Response rate is 94.7%. Kite nodded, but his expression remained serious. What about the remaining 5.3%? Most are simply too far away to help effectively, but Ora hesitated. Sir, there are some complications we didn't expect. She highlighted several areas of the galactic map. Some of our friends are receiving such overwhelming good fortune that other species are getting suspicious. The Rigelian Trade Confederation has noticed that every one of their most successful captains has connections to humans. The Andromedan Research Council is asking why human-allied scientists are making breakthrough discoveries every week. Kite considered this. Are they hostile to the pattern? Not hostile, sir. Confused and very, very interested in becoming human allies themselves. On the other side of the galaxy, War Prime Zichther was having the worst month of his military. Career. The massive hegemony general stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. Explain to me again why the attack on Alpha Centauri failed, he growled at his staff officers. Sir, the Rigel fleet reported engine malfunctions in 73% of their ships. One officer replied nervously, the Vega Squadron's navigation systems failed during the approach. The Arcturus Division's communications went down completely, and they couldn't coordinate their assault. All at the same time? All by coincidence? It appears so, sir. Ziegther's 4 eyes narrowed dangerously. And the attack on the human mining colony at Volf 359? Similar problems, sir. Plus several of our supply convoys were raided by pirates who seemed to know exactly where to find them. Pirates who appeared out of nowhere and disappeared just as quickly. Yes, sir. Ziegther slammed his massive fist on the command table, cracking the metal surface. Someone is sabotaging our operations. I want a full investigation into every officer, every crew member, every support staff member in the fleet. What Ziegther didn't know was that the sabotage was much more subtle than he imagined. Scattered throughout his forces were hundreds of beings who had once been helped by humans. A hegemony engineer whose life had been saved by a human medic. A supply officer who had received crucial business advice from a human trader. A communications specialist whose family had been rescued from a natural disaster by human relief workers. None of these beings were actively working against the hegemony. But when critical systems needed maintenance, they somehow took a little longer to fix. When supply routes needed to be planned, they somehow chose paths that were vulnerable to pirate attacks. When intelligence needed to be processed, important details somehow got delayed. Each individual act was small and easily explained as simple incompetence or bad luck. But together they were crippling the hegemony war effort on Nexus Station. Captain Veltar was experiencing problems of a different sort. His fleet of cargo ships had grown so large and profitable that he was becoming a major political figure, whether he wanted to or not. Ultruian government officials kept asking him for advice on trade policy. Other species wanted to hire his ships for their most important cargo runs. Captain, his first officer Coulson said as they reviewed the day's business, we have 17 requests for meetings this week. The Draconian Commerce Guild wants to discuss exclusive contracts. The Zephyrian Council wants to hire us to transport emergency supplies to their outer colonies. The Centaurian Embassy wants to offer you a position as their trade advisor. Veltar rubbed his temples. What do they all have in common? They all want to improve their relationships with humans, sir. Word is spreading that humans reward their friends very, very well. And they think being close to me will make them closer to humans? Exactly, sir. Veltar thought about this. A year ago, he had been a struggling cargo captain with a small ship and large debts. Now he commanded a fleet and had more business than he could handle. All because he had helped one human trader with a broken life support system. Coulson, send a message to all the people requesting meetings. Tell them I'll meet with them, but only if they agree to one condition. What condition, sir? They have to listen to me tell the story of how I met my first human. The whole story. And they have to understand that humans don't just reward success, they reward kindness. Meanwhile, Agent B.O. Rahan was conducting her own investigation into the war's progress. She had gone undercover as a cargo inspector on a hegemony supply station, using forged identity documents that showed her as a loyal hegemony citizen. What she found amazed even her. The station's commanding officer, a stern military leader named Colonel Daxran, had a secret. His daughter had been saved from a rare disease by human medical researchers who shared their cure freely with all species. The humans never asked for payment, Colonel Daxran confided to B.O. or Ra over drinks in the station bar. They said healing should not be limited by politics or money. My daughter is alive today because of their generosity. That must make this war difficult for you, Ba'ora said carefully. It does, the colonel stared into his drink. I have my orders and I follow them. But when supply ships need to be routed through dangerous areas, somehow I always choose routes that avoid human patrols. When intelligence reports need to be processed, somehow the ones about human weaknesses get delayed. I tell myself it's just military caution, but you're protecting the people who saved your daughter. Without even thinking about it, he admitted. It's like humans planted something in my mind, some compulsion to help them. But O'Rawls laughed. Humans hadn't planted anything in his mind except gratitude. But gratitude, it turned out, was a more powerful weapon than any military technology. Her investigation revealed dozens of similar cases throughout the hegemony military. Officers whose families had been helped by humans, soldiers who had traded with human merchants, support staff who had received human aid during disasters. None of them were traitors in the traditional sense, but all of them found ways to make the war effort just a little less effective. When Biora reported back to director Kite, he was pleased but not surprised. Human psychology research shows that gratitude creates strong emotional bonds, he explained. When someone helps us, we feel obligated to help them in return. It's one of our most basic social instincts. But sir, these aren't humans feeling grateful, these are aliens. The emotion of gratitude appears to be nearly universal among intelligent species, Kite replied. We've been testing this theory for 30 years. Every time a human interacts with an alien, the results are remarkably consistent. You mean this was all planned from the very beginning? Not planned exactly, but anticipated. We knew that. If humans behaved with genuine kindness and generosity, other species would respond positively. We just kept track of those positive responses and tried to nurture them. Ba'ara shook her head in amazement. So the archive isn't just a record of favors received. It's a map of emotional connections across the galaxy. Exactly. And now, when humanity is threatened, we can activate those connections. Not through force or bribery, but by reminding people of the bonds they already feel. The conversation was interrupted by an urgent alert. A hegemony battle fleet was approaching the Proxima Centauri system, where Dr. Nara Song was conducting her research. The fleet was large enough to destroy the entire system, but as Biora and Kite watched, something remarkable happened. Ships from dozens of different species began converging on Proxima Centauri. Zephyrian vessels, Altruian traders, crystalline research ships, even a few Draconian warships. They came from all directions, flying different flags, but united by a common purpose, protecting the humans who had helped them. Sir, Bora said quietly, I don't think the hegemony expected to fight the entire galaxy. Neither did we, Kite admitted, but that appears to be what we've built. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through 30 years of small kindnesses. On the approaching hegemony flagship, War Prime Zichther stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. His fleet of 200 warships was facing a defensive force of over 800 vessels from 47 different species. Most of them were civilian ships, cargo haulers, research vessels, passenger liners, but they outnumbered his military fleet by 4 to 1. Sir, his tactical officer reported, we're receiving hundreds of communication requests. The enemy fleet wants to negotiate. Put them through, Zichther growled, the main screen filled with faces from dozens of species. But the voice that spoke was human President Minho, broadcasting from Earth. War Prime Zichther, I want to thank you for this opportunity to demonstrate. Fleet Admiral Sujin Choi watched the final battle of the war from the bridge of her flagship. But it wasn't really a battle at all. It was something the galaxy had never seen before, the complete collapse of a military alliance through the power of gratitude. The hegemony's great fleet hung motionless in space, surrounded by thousands of ships from hundreds of worlds. War Prime Zichther had been forced to retreat from system after system as his own officers found themselves unable or unwilling to fight effectively against humans and their allies. Admiral, her communications officer reported, we're receiving surrender requests from 17 hegemony battle groups. They want to negotiate individual peace treaties. Sujin wasn't surprised. Over the past month, the hegemony had been falling apart from within. Species that had joined the military alliance for protection were discovering that humans offered something better, genuine friendship and mutual support on the main screen. President Minho appeared via quantum communication from the Confederation. Council chambers. Admiral, I have remarkable news. The Hegemony Council has voted to dissolve their alliance. Arch-Chancellor Morden has been removed from power by his own supporters. What changed their minds, sir? They finally realized they were fighting not just humanity, but the consequences of their own actions. Every species that ever helped a human was now helping humanity in return. But every species that had been conquered or bullied by the hegemony was also choosing to side with us. Sujin understood. The hegemony had ruled through fear and force, creating enemies everywhere they went. Humans had spread influence through kindness and gratitude, creating friends across the galaxy. When the two approaches finally clashed, the result was inevitable. There's more, Minho continued. Former hegemony members are requesting to join what they're calling the Alliance of Remembered Kindness. They want to learn how humans built such strong relationships with so many species. Admiral Yultex, the former hegemony officer who had once warned humans about pirates, was among the first to switch sides. He brought with him detailed intelligence about hegemony military positions and the locations of their secret weapons. Stockpiles, why are you helping us? Sujin asked him during a private meeting. Because humans helped me first, Yultex replied simply. When I provided information that saved human lives, you rewarded me with intelligence that saved my career. And my honor. When my government ordered me to attack your people, I found I could not do it. How can you strike at those who have shown you only kindness? Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Hegemony officers who had been secretly helped by humans found themselves unable to fight effectively. Supply lines failed as logistics officers remembered human generosity. Communication networks broke down as technicians recalled how humans had shared their knowledge freely. The war ended not with a great battle, but with a series of surrenders, defections, and peace negotiations. The hegemony simply dissolved as its member species chose friendship over fear. Captain Veltar, now admiral of the largest civilian fleet in the galaxy, played a crucial role in the post-war negotiations. His ships carried diplomats, supplies, and refugees as the galaxy reorganized itself around new principles. I still can't believe this all started because I helped one human fix his life support, he said to Hannah Park during a diplomatic reception on Nexus Station. That's the point, Hannah replied with a smile. You didn't help Deho because you expected a reward. You helped him because it was the right thing to do. But humans believe that right actions should lead to good consequences. So we made sure they did. And now the entire galaxy operates on this principle? More and more each day, we're calling it the Galactic Favor Protocol. The Galactic Favor Protocol was President Minho's greatest achievement. Instead of the old system of treaties based on mutual fear or economic advantage, the new galactic government operated on recorded kindness and systematic gratitude. Every species that joined the Alliance of Remembered Kindness agreed to keep careful records of help given and received. When members needed assistance, they could call upon those they had helped in the past. But more importantly, they were expected to help others whenever possible, knowing that such kindness would be remembered and eventually returned. It's not just about humans anymore, Minho explained to the first meeting of the Alliance Council. It's about creating a galaxy where kindness is valued, recorded, and rewarded, where helping others is not just morally right but strategically smart. The system worked better than anyone had expected. Within a year, conflicts between Alliance members had dropped to almost zero. Why fight with someone when you might need their help someday? Why cheat in trade when honest dealing would be remembered and rewarded? Jinwoo Lee, the terraforming engineer who had been saved by Zephyrians during the storm, became the first director of interspecies gratitude management. His job was to help coordinate assistance between species, making sure that acts of kindness were properly recorded and eventually repaid. The hardest part, he told his staff, is convincing some species that we're serious about this. They keep expecting hidden motives or secret costs. They can't believe that kindness can be its own strategy. Dr. Nara Song, whose life had been saved by the crystalline researcher Solara, established the Alliance Research Sharing Initiative. Scientists from different species worked together on projects that benefited everyone, with each contribution carefully noted and credited. Humans taught us that knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied, Solara said at the initiative's opening ceremony. When I saved Dr. Song's life by teaching her about dangerous plants, I gained a friend and research partner whose work has advanced my own studies by decades. Even former enemies found their place in the new order. War Prime Zeekther, stripped of his military rank but offered a chance at redemption, became a logistics coordinator for refugee resettlement programs. His military experience helped him organize efficient aid distribution to species displaced by the war. Humans showed me that strength used to help others is more powerful than strength used to conquer them, he admitted during a council session. I spent my career building fear. They spent theirs building gratitude. The results speak for themselves. But perhaps the most important change was in how individual beings treated each other. Across the galaxy, people began paying more attention to small acts of kindness. A shared meal, helpful directions, a warning about danger, all of these were now seen as investments in a better future. On a small trading station near the Galactic Rim, a young draconian merchant named Caxelin found himself stranded when his ship's engines failed. He was far from home, low on funds, and facing the prospect of being stuck for weeks while waiting for expensive repairs. An elderly human trader named Sunya noticed his distress. She offered to help with the repairs, sharing her tools and expertise freely. When Caxelin insisted on payment, she waved him away. "Just remember this kindness," Sunya said. "Someday, somewhere, you'll meet someone who needs help. When that happens, think of this moment and choose to be kind." 6 months later, Caxelin encountered a stranded Ultrian family whose shuttle had broken down in a dangerous asteroid field. Without hesitation, he risked his own ship to rescue them. When they offered payment, he repeated Sunya's words exactly. The rescued Ultrian later helped a Zephyrian colony survive a famine by sharing his cargo of food supplies. The grateful Zephyrians provided crucial water purification technology to a crystalline research station. The crystalline researchers shared a breakthrough in medical technology that saved thousands of lives across a dozen species. Each act of kindness rippled outward, creating an ever-expanding network of gratitude and mutual support. The Alliance didn't need to enforce these behaviors. They happened naturally as beings discovered that kindness was not just morally right but practically beneficial. President Minho, now in his third term as Alliance Council Chairman, often reflected on how far they had come. The galaxy that had once seemed hostile to humanity now embraced human values of gratitude and generosity. "We didn't conquer the galaxy," he said in his final State of the Alliance address. "We didn't even really change it. We just reminded everyone of something they already knew deep down, that kindness matters, that help should be repaid, and that the strongest bonds are built not through fear or profit, but through genuine care for one another." In the audience, Admiral Veltar nodded thoughtfully. He remembered a day long ago when he had chosen to help a stranded human trader, expecting nothing in return. That simple choice had changed not just his life, but the entire galaxy. After the address, as dignitaries from hundreds of worlds mingled and shared stories, Veltar approached a young being he didn't recognize, a member of a newly discovered species seeking to join the Alliance. "You look lost," Veltar said kindly. "Can I help you find someone?" The young alien looked up gratefully. "Yes, thank you. I'm looking for the human delegation. I wanted to thank them for the medical supplies they sent to my homeworld." As Veltar led the newcomer through the crowd, he smiled to himself. Somewhere in the vast Alliance databases, this small act of help would be recorded. Someday, in some way he couldn't imagine, it would be returned to him multiplied beyond measure, but that wasn't why.